Ed Cahill, Cahill. Teddy joins us on the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. So we start the second half of conference play tonight, Teddy, and we look around the SEC, and there's some things in the first half that are surprising. There are some things that are shocking, and then there's some things that were maybe as expected. Give me, on the positive side, and then we'll do the negative side, your biggest surprise of the first 5 weeks of conference play in the SEC.
I mean, I think that's got to be Kentucky at 10-5. South Carolina maybe has some argument here, but I wouldn't have been surprised if South Carolina was, competing at a decent level in the SEC East. But for Kentucky to be 10-5, number one in the RPI, and facing a very straightforward path to not just making the NCAA tournament, but hosting a regional halfway through the SEC play. I mean, that to me is the biggest surprise.
What's Kentucky got to do to be a top 8? I know it's a little early for that conversation, and their schedule has got plenty of landmines between now and the end of the SEC tournament, but is there a path there in your mind?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The RPI to this point is very much leaning in their favor, and I think it's probably more straightforward to top 8 than a lot of people have realized, or maybe I'm just a little slow to realize it myself, but I think that really what they've got to do to assure themselves of a host, I think, is just win 6 more SEC games. I cannot imagine a team – so their RPI is almost certainly going to finish in the top 10 to top 8 range, almost no matter what they do from here on out. So if they just win 6 more SEC games, assure themselves of a winning SEC record, they're going to host. And I don't think it's going to take that much more than that to be a top 8 seed, because it's going to be hard for the committee to look at a team that has that kind of RPI and that many SEC wins. Their strength of schedule right now is 1. That might fall a little bit, but they're going to have an elite RPI, an elite strength of schedule, and in this scenario, a winning SEC record. I mean, that's going to be far more likely to be top 8 than not.
Okay. What would be your 1A positive surprise from the SEC?
I guess I might lean South Carolina here. I was a little dubious about just how far the pendulum could swing for them going forward. I thought they could be a solid team, a regional team, but maybe not a team competing to host, and that's definitely what they are right now. And Ethan Petrie, from an individual level, has been a great surprise. He was a solid recruit, but he was not a guy that I had pegged as a potential SEC freshman of the year.
Yeah, sitting on 18 home runs at the halfway point of league play, and they can just hit. I had one of their games earlier this year against Georgia, and they've got 5 guys, Teddy, with double-digit home runs, and that includes Will McGillis, who did it in 23 games before the hand injury. And assumingly they're going to get him back at some point. I mean, they can hit 1 through 9 in that lineup.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Now, obviously, their ballpark is a more offensive one, and they're built to play in it, and they take advantage of it. But it's still, I mean, it's a deep lineup, like you said. They all swing it for power. It's been really impressive. I've seen some guys talk about the impact that Monty Lee has made, coming over as an assistant coach and helping them kind of refine their approaches. And the proof is definitely in the results. Like, they're right there at the top of the home run leaderboard, and it's a dangerous lineup that can get on you real quick.
Monty Lee, who, of course, was the head coach at Clemson, was let go. Eric Bakich got that job from Michigan, part of the coaching carousel from a year ago. All right, what about on the negative side? Biggest surprise first half of the season on the negative. I think I know where you're going to go with this, but I'll be interested to see.
I think it's got to be Tennessee. They were number 2 in the country in the preseason, pretty much universally. I think actually universally, and now they're 5-10, and they just lost a midweek at home to Tennessee Tech, and we're all wondering, is this a team that's going to be able to recover and make the NCAA tournament? I think you were probably expecting me to go Ole Miss, and maybe I've just made my peace with Ole Miss. The Tennessee thing might be fresher, but right now I'm saying Tennessee.
Is Tennessee going to recover?
I guess, first of all, it depends on what you mean by recover. I don't think this is a team that's going to get back to looking like the team we expected them to be. I think that is, we just were all wrong about that. Can they make the tournament? I think yes still, but it's not easy. The second half is tricky, and they're going to have to play a lot better. I mean, this is a team that needs to play 500 ball in the SEC from here on out, and it's also a team that's been swept twice in the SEC. So they have to clean some things up, both from a literal like defensive standpoint, but also just from they have to find a way to grind out some results in a way that they haven't been able to this point.
Teddy, you've got some marquee series in college baseball this weekend. Obviously, a top 10 matchup between Florida and South Carolina. Ole Miss, to your point a minute ago, not what anybody expected that they were going to be this season. And yet there's still some intrigue with LSU and Ole Miss happening in Oxford this weekend. But there's one that we've talked about that really catches my eye, and it's happening in the Sun Belt with Southern Miss headed to Conway to take on Coastal Carolina, top 25 matchup, two teams that are in the running to be hosts. This has got a chance to be really good baseball this weekend.
Yeah, I think this is a really fun one. It's two of the top three teams in the Sun Belt, Louisiana Lafayette being the third. They are tied with Southern Miss just a game behind Coastal. But I think Southern Miss and Coastal are the two best teams in that league, ULL's win at LSU notwithstanding. I like the fact that they're teams that are coming at it from different ways. You've got Coastal, which ranks fourth in the country in scoring. It's a deep lineup. They really know how to put runs on the board, and they're going to be difficult to slow down. But Southern Miss has the best pitching staff in this league, and it might not be what it was a year ago when it was so special and one of the best ones in the country, but it's still a very talented one. And if anyone's going to be able to slow Coastal down, you would think it might be the Southern Miss staff. The negative for the Golden Eagles is they got to go on the road. Coastal plays well at home. The home ballpark, again, that's a team that plays to their home park. It plays offensively. But I think this should be a really fun one. Friday night's a huge night. You got to get off to a good start if you're Southern Miss and take advantage of your pitching edge on a Friday night. But I think this could be a really great series this weekend.
Why is LSU still number one for you, Teddy?
So for me, it comes down to the strength of the resume. You look at the teams that they've played, the wins that they have, and I think that they still have better wins than anyone. Some of that is that they have that series win against Arkansas, and nobody really can match that one. So that holds a lot of weight. Kentucky is still a top 15 series win. It's getting closer though. As Vanderbilt goes out and beats South Carolina, that starts to be something a lot like beating Arkansas for LSU. Wake Forest is getting ready to run away with the ACC, it seems like, and they stacked an important road series win against Louisville last weekend. So it's definitely getting tight. Florida has a chance this weekend to make a big statement, but right now I still like the premier series wins for LSU.
And Teddy, yesterday we were looking at LSU's remaining schedule, and I think we will all agree there are no gimmies in the SEC. You got to go, you got to play well. But their schedule could not be any more favorable down the stretch. At Ole Miss this weekend, Alabama at home, at Auburn, Mississippi State at home, at Georgia. There's an opportunity there for LSU to really pile up some wins and end up with a pretty gaudy record.
Yes, there's a lot of concern right now or chatter about, well, they're just 9-5 in the conference, and look at all these teams that have better SEC records than them. I understand where that's coming from, but yes, if you look at what LSU has played already, like it's better than what anybody else has played. It was very front-loaded, and I think going 9-5 against that was pretty compellingly good. Now they have to do their part and go win these games against teams in the bottom half of the conference, and if they do that, yes, they won't. They can't keep winning Premier Series, but some of the weirdness of their conference record would be eliminated, and I think that would help them, just look more like the number one team in the country. I think part of the struggle right now that we're seeing is that they've played really good teams. Now they have to prove that against the bottom half.
All right, Teddy, 20 seconds left. True or false? Mississippi State goes 8-7 or better in the second half and makes the tournament.
I'm going to say no. I think they face a very challenging schedule. Obviously, they're trending in the right way, but for me, it's maybe a bridge too far with some of the challenging series left on that slate.
Teddy, always appreciate your time. Enjoy.